I decided today I should do a very long overdue introduction of myself because I've just been blabbing for years now without doing so. So hello, my name is Nora. It's nice to meet you. Before we start, I would like to apologize for one, being kind of boring, and two, for being a terrible drawer, and yet still deciding to illustrate this anyway. Okay, so let's see. The story of Nora began on September 7th in Wisconsin, where I was born. I'm not going to tell you the year because A, I don't want you to steal my identity, and B, you don't need to know how old I am. I will tell you it was in the 1900s. I am older than 15. And I am a millennial, whatever that means. I am the youngest of 5 kids. The oldest is my sister, and then there were 3 boys, and then me. So I think she was pretty glad to have another girl come along. And yeah. Well, I lived in Wisconsin until I was 7. And then we moved to Iowa, to a little town called Decorah. Decorah's a pretty neat place. I'll leave some links about it down below. I love it a lot. But at the time, I thought it kind of sucked because it was a small town in Iowa, and I was like a teenager, so you know how it is. But it's really great. I promise. You should go there. So when I lived in Wisconsin, I was homeschooled. So when we moved to Iowa, I started my first year at real school. It was 3rd grade. I was really nervous about it. I definitely called my teacher mom, but it turned out okay. So while I was in school, I did a lot of different activities. I was pretty involved, I guess, in a lot of different stuff. I dabbled in a few sports, but I will say that when you are very uncoordinated and kind of lazy, sports generally not really your thing. So I discovered that. I played basketball for a year in middle school, and I was so bad. We had 3 squads, A, B, and C. I was on C squad, and I didn't even start on C squad. That's how absolutely terrible I was. And I was already like 6 foot at the time, so yeah, go figure. I did track and field for 2 years in middle school. I actually really liked doing the high jump, but I didn't really like the running, and they wouldn't let me just do the high jump, so I quit. And then in high school, I, for some reason, thought, hey, that running thing I hate, I should do cross country. So I did cross country for a year, but I really hated running, obviously. So I didn't make it very long in that, although I really loved the team and I had a lot of fun with them, but just the running was no. I did 1 season of golf, which was really basically just because I wanted to learn how to golf, and I did. I'm really bad at golf, but I really like it. I actually watch golf all the time, which people think is weird, but it's a fun sport, and it's really addicting. And I did 2 years of soccer, which I sucked at less, I guess. I played defense. I really liked it. I was okay. I started on the JV team, so whatever that means. But I was only able to do 2 seasons because it interfered with work, and so I had to quit. I was very involved with speech and drama in both middle school and high school. In high school, I was in the speech and drama club, and I actually lettered in speech and drama all 4 years. Yeah, we had a fine arts letter. Boom. And I actually made it to All-State all 4 years in large group speech, which at the time had never been done, but me and a few of my classmates did, so that was kind of cool. I was never going to be the star of the show, and I can't sing, so I couldn't really be in the musicals or anything. But I always had fun doing it, and it was a really big part of my high school time. I also played the violin. We started in, I think, 6th grade, maybe 5th, but I did it all through high school. I was not the best violinist by any means, but it wasn't terrible. By my senior year, I was actually first chair, second violin, so that was kind of cool. I got to sit up at the front stand. It was frustrating at times, I suppose, as any musical instrument is, but it was fun, and I actually still have my violin, and I play it sometimes. And I also had a job down at the local library. I thought this was going to be an awesome job, and I was really excited to get it because I went to the library all the time, and I loved the library. I loved books, and that was where I got on the internet when I was in high school. But it turned out to be a really boring job, and I kind of hated it. And I got minimum wage, which at the time was like $5. And it was so boring. But I did it, and it was a job, so. So I was also a total nerd, basically. Took like AP classes. I was involved in science club, Envirothon, nerdy stuff like that. I was in the Future Problem Solvers in middle school, if you know what that is, which you probably don't. So I did a lot of that kind of stuff. I actually founded the Decorah chapter of the Teenage Republicans, which is kind of funny because I'm definitely not a Republican anymore, but I was at the time when I was like 15. So, but yeah, so I didn't know what I really wanted to do after high school. I was, like I said, I was a good student. I was one of the top students in my class. I think people kind of just thought I was going to go off to school, you know, I don't know, be a lawyer or something, whatever people do. But I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I kind of surprised everyone when I said that I wanted to join the military, and they thought I was kidding, but I wasn't. And so my original plan was to enlist and do one enlistment and then go to college afterwards. And that would also help pay for my college since my family wasn't going to be able to help me afford that. But I ended up, my dad kind of talked me into looking at officer options. So I ended up interviewing for an ROTC scholarship, and I got it. And one of my friends was applying to the service academies, and he's kind of giving me shit about ROTC. So I was like, hey, I'm going to apply to the Naval Academy, which I didn't even know existed until the summer before my senior year of high school. So I had like very short time frame to do the application. I had to go get a nomination from my congressman. It was all very nerve-wracking. But I ended up getting accepted. But I wasn't going to do it. I was going to do ROTC at Boston University. But there was a problem with my paperwork. I got put on the wait list for the unit at Boston. And so it was spring of my senior year of high school, and I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was freaking out. And I was like, hey, remember how you got accepted to the academy? I guess you're going to do that. And so I did. I had never been there. My parents drove me out, and we got there the day beforehand, and I walked around, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing, I guess. Yeah. So that was me at the academy. Their logo was really hard to draw, so I just went with the sign and the fouled anchor. It's the best I could do. I pretty much spent the entire time at the academy expecting that I was going to fail. I really didn't think I was going to be able to do it, but somehow I made it through plebe summer. And then I made it through plebe year, so no insignia. And then youngster year, I got 1 stripe. The second class year, you get 2 stripes. And then first class year, you go to a horizontal stripe. And I made it through. While I was there, I majored in physics, and my specialty was astrophysics. That's a galaxy. Yeah, don't ask. And I minored in Spanish language studies. And that was pretty awesome, this stuff. So then one lovely May day, I walked across the stage and I shook hands with President Obama, and he gave me my diploma. And then I took my oath, and I was commissioned as an ensign in the United States Navy. So that was pretty cool. I selected surface warfare nuclear for my service selection. So for a nuke surface officer, you do your first tour on a conventional ship. So I chose to do mine out in San Diego, California. There we go. San Diego, California. I went there on training, and I fell in love, and I knew it was where I wanted to go. So I selected the USS Green Bay, which was LPD 20. And I moved out to San Diego with my then boyfriend at the time, who was a civilian who lived in Baltimore that I met while I was at the academy. We got engaged when I was 22. It was actually my 22nd birthday. We got engaged, and just a few months later, we got married. And then by the time I was 23, we separated. So yeah, that happened. While I was on the Green Bay, I got my surface warfare pin. I think I actually have my, yeah, my USS Green Bay ball cap. I was the fire control officer and the combat information centers officer and the public affairs officer, as well as a few other things that I did while I was there. So it was a very interesting experience. as an ensign. So after 21 months on the Green Bay, I had to go do my training for my nuclear part of my commitment. So the training was located out in Charleston, South Carolina, which is a very lovely city. Loved Charleston. And I studied nuclear power there. There was a 6-month school that I went to where we studied theory and all the kind of stuff behind nuclear engineering and nuclear reactors. And then we had a 6-month practical course where we actually went down to an operating reactor and learned how to do everything. It was pretty cool. While I was there, I got promoted to lieutenant junior grade. And I spent a lot of time crying because I got divorced. But I also met my boyfriend, who was there studying in the same program. He's a submariner. And we've been together for almost 4 years now, so I guess that worked out. So I knew I wanted to go back to San Diego because I love San Diego. So I selected the USS Carl Vinson for my nuclear tour. This is one of our nuclear operated aircraft carriers. Actually the only class of ship that we have that's a surface ship that's nuclear operated. And this one is CVN 70. This is a really terrible drawing of an aircraft. Anyway, okay, while I was there, I got promoted to lieutenant, and I was the reactor mechanical division officer, which meant I worked with the nuclear mechanics, and they were great. I loved my division. I actually had a really good tour on the Carl Vinson, but I had decided pretty early on when I was still an ensign that I wasn't going to stay in and do a long-term career, and so I submitted my resignation letter. My resignation letter, and about 1.5 years ago, I got out of the Navy and I spent a lot of time at the beach. Yeah, so after I got out of the Navy, I was unemployed for a few months. I joined the Navy. I started at the academy when I was 17, so it was the first time in my entire life, really, that I didn't have anyone to answer to, and it was pretty awesome. I read a lot. I got so much writing done. I wrote an entire book in like 2 months. Short book, but and I loved it. I did a lot of puzzles. I love puzzles. But unfortunately, you can't stay unemployed forever. You kind of need this whole money thing, whatever. So I got a new job as a project management consultant. So here's my lovely project management triangle. So that's what I do during the day. And then the rest of the time, let's see. I like to read. I read a lot, and it is pretty awesome. Obviously, I like to write. I try to do that as much as possible. I like to run, which I know is funny because earlier I said, oh, I hate running. Well, it turns out I hate running like with other people or when I have to run, but I really like running by myself. I like that it's just a challenge against my own self, and it's very relaxing. I like having that time to think and just like be. I've run a few races. I run 2 half marathons. I just broke 2 hours on my last one, so that was exciting. I really like to race 10Ks, and hopefully I'll be doing another one soon. I kind of hurt my knee a couple months ago, so I've been taking it a little easy, but I'm going to try and find a race to do soon. I also watch a lot of TV. I know, that's bad, but I like it. And I like to bake. That's not a hat. That's a cake. I know, sorry. It kind of looks like a fucking hat, but it's a cake! So I love to bake, so it's probably a good thing I like to run, too. I also am a bicycle commuter. I started doing that a few months ago, and it's been really great, although I live on the top of a very big hill, so that pretty much sucks, but it's still good to do, and I've been having a lot of fun. I have 2 pet rabbits. Their names are Pippin and Feely, and they hate each other, but we're working on it. And I love them so much. They're so adorable. I'll have to bring them over and do a video with them sometime. And I spend so much time on the internet. This is probably my biggest time waster, and I know it's probably bad, but I love it. It's what I do to unwind at the end of a long day, and I spend a lot of time on my computer. As for writing, I have been writing I remember writing when I lived in Wisconsin, so really as far back as my memory goes. I wrote my first book when I was 13. My second book I wrote in high school, and I started my third book in high school. I didn't really write at the academy, but almost as soon as I graduated, I got back into it, and I finished that third book. And then I wrote a fourth book, and a fifth book, and a sixth book, which I'm editing now. Yeah, and hopefully these lovely books will someday be published, so that you can read the awesomeness that are my books, if I do say so myself. And yeah, that's me. So I hope you enjoyed learning just a little bit more about me. I'd love to learn more about you, so if you want to leave comments below or something. And if you have any questions about anything that I talked about, please let me know. Thanks for coming to my channel and watching my video. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.